So we all know by now that I absolutely love a bit of creativity when it comes to your wedding. I'm here for the DIYs. I love adding personality and little moments that are actually special to you that you've come up with. So this week we're going to touch on 10 different ways that you can do a guest book at your wedding. I'm really excited about this one. Hello lovely couples and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, wedding planner and owner of Bluebird Creative. I provide a weekly dose of a wedding planning goodness for the modern couple. So if you haven't already guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel and don't forget to follow me over on Instagram and over on TikTok at Bluebird_creative, where I post a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of our real weddings. You get to see some real raw random chat from me, as well as a lot more tips, so come follow me over there as well guys. Right, so let's not dilly-dally, let's dive into these 10 different alternative ways for you to do a guest book at your wedding and add a little bit of personality and fun to your day. Let's go. Okay guys, so typically a guest book back in the day was literally just a lovely book that was popped open on a table with a pen and guests could write a note in there to you on your wedding day. Lovely. And if that's something that you want to do still, that's amazing. Then there obviously was the addition of photos. Photo booths started becoming a trend. So you would have a photo booth, you would stick that in and then you would write your note. Then the Polaroids started coming in, and again, same kind of vibe. People would take a photo and then they would still provide a book with some washi tape and some pens, and you could stick that in and again, write a note next to it. Absolutely love that idea still. It's a great way for you to look back at your wedding photos, the guests that were there, the messages, it's all together in one place. So if that's something that you want to do, absolutely go for it. Let's talk about some different ways though that you can do your guest book, where you can get a bit creative and have a bit of fun if you fancy it. So one of our couples this year used a Jenga game. They had all the Jenga blocks and all the guests were able to sign the different pieces of the Jenga blocks. I absolutely love this because if you are a games person, for example, and that is really important to you, or that's just something that you love doing as a couple, then every time you get that Jenga game out, you've got all the signed pieces from your guests and it's just a little memory, a little memento from your wedding day. So I absolutely love that idea. The Polaroids are huge, absolutely huge still. I'm sure that probably about 85 to 90% of our weddings this year, couples bought a Polaroid Instax camera. But they all did it in slightly different ways. So you could do it, as I mentioned earlier, by just taking the photos, leaving the washi tape and the pens for your guests to stick and write a message next to it. Or you could get a little bit creative and do something different. So you could hang up string and you could have the guests write on the back of the Polaroids and then peg their photos up onto the string. Or you could have them peg up onto like a metal grate or grid. I will see if I've got a picture, and if so, I will add it here for you. There's lots of different ways you can do the Polaroids. You can have them put them in envelopes and write another little message in for you there. So you can actually then just keep all the envelopes. Loads of different ways, essentially the same idea, but just displaying it differently and having a little bit of fun and adding your personality and injection into it. Something that I haven't seen done for quite a while, and in fact, I think the first time I saw it was back when my friends got married in about 2012, and a couple of my couples actually kind of revived it and did it this year. And that is the photo frame. So they had a photo frame that has, I can't remember what it's called, you know, like the big fat border around a photo that you've got it, the mount, I'm sure it's the mount. I'm gonna have to Google this afterwards, but I'm not gonna re-record. I'm sure it's the mount. Okay, so your photo will go inside the frame and then there'll be a big fat mount and the frame. Guests sign round the mounted card bit. Be hilarious if I've got the word wrong here, but go with me. I think you know what I mean. And then they will put the photo up on their wall and it's got all the signed signatures of their guests around the photo. So people might do that with an engagement photo, for example, which is a really, really nice way of doing it. It could be a picture of your venue. It could be a picture from your wedding day and you add the photo after the wedding. Really, really nice. Something to put up into your house as a memory from the day. I really, really do love this one. Whilst we're on the topic of signing things, let's just talk about the different things that guests can sign that I've seen. So this year we've seen signing of a guitar, which I have seen in the past as well. So if music again is important to you, then you might want to get all your guests to sign your guitar, and then you might want to I was about to say frame it. I don't think you're going to want to frame your guitar, but you might want to put your guitar up on the wall and mount that up, which would be amazing. And again, you just constantly got that reminder of your wedding day, all the friends and family that were there on the day. And essentially you could do that with anything. You could sign a PlayStation box, that's random, but if you're gamers, then maybe you would want your guests to do that. I don't know, it could be totally random, it could be really personal and thought through, but essentially you can have your guests sign something that you maybe want to put up in your house at home that's going to remind you of your wedding day. So let's move on to this next one, which I personally love because I did it at my wedding. And that is your guests writing little messages to you on your wedding day, sealing them and putting them in a box or a jar, or as I did on my wedding day, a wine bottle. We bought a Magnum wine bottle and we had all our guests scroll the little notes up into little scrolls, stick them down with a sticker and place their message in a bottle. And we didn't read them or open the bottle until our 1 year anniversary. And it was so lovely. I remember we had a cup of coffee, we sat in bed, we got the wine bottle out, with no wine, just with the messages. And we got all the messages out on our 1 year anniversary and read through them. And it was so funny, because the later into the wedding, the later into the evening, the more ridiculous the messages got, the more illegible some of the messages got, and it just took us back, and it was just hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So if you want to do something like that on your 1 year anniversary, then I highly recommend doing message in a bottle, or it could just be a note in an envelope and then they're all put into a box. You can do it in whatever way you want to. They can go into jam jars, whatever. It's really fun and we absolutely loved that. So another one is marital advice. So instead of doing a guest book, you could have cards ready printed with gaps that your guests can fill in or advice that they can give to you. We actually did this at our wedding as well, and we also got those out on our 1 year anniversary. And again, it was just really funny to read some of the silly advice, some of the things that people had sort of said. It's a really fun way of getting your guests to kind of get involved, because not everybody remembers to do the guest book, but that definitely was kind of like a bit of entertainment for everybody as well. And it's just fun to read back on. Something similar to the marital advice and the tips and that is creating a bucket list. So instead of getting your guests to write you messages, you can get them to add things to your bucket list. And I've seen some awesome things on Pinterest where they've styled it up, that sort of station. There's a big bucket, or they've just made it look really cool, and guests can just write things that they should do and add to their bucket list. So a bit of fun, but I really love that idea. This one you've probably seen before, and that is the fingerprint tree. So this is where you'll have a sketch of a tree, and then you'll have an ink pad out, and then all your guests will fingerprint, put their finger in the ink pad and then put it on the tree. And that's obviously just a collation of all your guests on the wedding day. I do like this one, but you obviously don't know whose fingerprints whose, and I love it when you can actually get messages from people and know who they're from. But it is really nice if you want something to put up on your wall, just to kind of get a visual of your wedding day and just a little reminder, really. These last two are pretty different, quite modern and super fun. So one of them is having an iPad for guests to record video messages. I absolutely love this idea because I just think it can end up being absolutely hilarious. So you can literally just leave an iPad out on a station, a little bit of signage to explain what to do, and they can just save them all onto the iPad so that you can come back, file them, create a compilation of all the videos if you want to, whatever. Which is super easy, super fun. I absolutely love this idea. And the second one is the voicemails. So there's a couple of companies out there now that are doing this, where you can hire an old-fashioned telephone. So this is less DIY, but it's super fun. You can hire an old-fashioned telephone and you can have your guests ring the number and leave a message, and then they will send you all the messages. There are definitely ways where you could make that work for yourself as well. Really fun, great if you want to have something to listen back to. My favourite is definitely the video messages, because I'm such a visual person and I love to see the videos, see the people, see how they're interacting. I just think it's absolutely hilarious. So there you go, guys. There are 10 different ways that you can create a guest book or an alternative guest book. Some really fun ideas there, a real mix just to give you a few different ideas. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it gave you some great inspiration. What was your favourite one in today's video? Please pop it in the comments box below. I would absolutely love to know. Have a fab week, guys, and I will see you next week for some more wedding planning goodness.